for joining us for another episode of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tinisha Spain, and joining me in studio today is Ella Maxwell, one of our faves, and she always comes with a lot of things to do, as you can tell. So Ella, before we jump into all of the show and tells, tell us a little bit more about you and what you like to do outside.
Oh, Tanisha, I love all kinds of gardening. I'm a master gardener in Tazewell County, as well as a horticulturist, and now I am working part-time at Hare Nursery. I'm old enough to retire, and so I can spend more time in my garden, and I just keep finding new gardening avenues. So we're going to talk about some of these new things that I'm excited about, and I know a lot about perennials and trees and shrubs and those kinds of things, and I'm kind of stuck in the mud vegetable gardener, but I'm going to branch out with all these ideas that I see on Mid-American Gardener that other people are doing. I'm going to try that too.
There you go. Okay, so we've got a lot to cover. The theme sort of that we've been talking about lately is seed starting and just kind of getting ready for spring. Everybody's itching to get out there. So what have you been doing?
Well, one of the fun things that I've been doing now is starting what we're going to call microgreens. And these are actually seeds that you sprout and that you will not allow them to become a mature plant, but you cut them very young, and they're an addition to the salads or whatever you might want. So here's a little container. These are radishes. And so radish greens are kind of a little peppery. If you'd like to try one, we can try some, but you can get some very affordable seed packages of these seeds, and then I'm sharing how I start them in these little deli meat containers. So I have an empty container here.
Got lots of those from cold lunches.
That's true. And then I've got a fork and to make drainage holes, because it's important for any container that you're using to have drainage holes. So I put holes in these containers on both sides. And I'm just starting seeds to eat. So I don't have to have a large soil volume. So I have maybe,
maybe half?
Half to 3/4 to an inch of maybe soil, and you want to use a seed starting mix because it's very light, loose, it holds a lot of water, and then I can just sprinkle the seeds on top. It's not like I'm really planting them, and then they can germinate. And here's a little seed packet that just really lends itself to this kind of thing. This is a microgreens. I got it at the dollar store. It's now $1.25, but such a deal. And they go through all the planting instructions. Of course, you know, you want to check that, make sure that you're getting fresh seed and that it's labeled for sale for 2021. And so that's what I have here. On the side, I use just a little peel and stick label, and then I write what it is that I'm seeding, and then again when I started it. So this was February 7th, and I've used these for some demonstrations, but now it's time to eat this. And this one has kale and mustard and all kinds of wonderful little peppery greens that you know, are just so nice. So some other things that I'm starting is I went to the health food store and I bought wheat berries. So this is the full, this is a hard red winter wheat, but this is the full berry and it is viable seed. Okay. So you buy it by the pound, and I think this was less than $1. But what I'm starting this for in these containers is for my cats, for some cat grass, for a little snack. And also you can take a pie pan and just a little bit of soil, and you can start grass for Easter baskets. So Easter, let's see, will be soon, and this usually takes, it'll germinate in 3 days. Wow. I mean, it starts to come up, and you can cut it just, I mean, and some people put it in smoothies. So, you know, it's wonderful to do that. Here's one of my dilemmas and one of my,
Is this a whoopsie?
right. It's so important that when you save the seeds, that you label them so you know what they are. Honestly, I don't know what they are. And the seed pod, I think I know. And thinking you know is not really knowing.
It's not the same, is it?
I could be pleasantly surprised.
About what is in there?
Well, I think that this is a very special plant here. I think I picked all the seed pods off of this last fall from a plant called Spigelia.
Okay.
It doesn't have
native?
a great, yes, it is a native. It has red flowers, and it doesn't have a real great common name, I don't believe, but I think that's what it is. And it has a capsule much like a poppy. So the little seeds, you know, you got to get them before they break off and drop out. So the bottom has seed. Now, Spigelia, I believe, when I checked, needs a cold stratification. And we had a question that, about winter sowing.
We did.
So we can talk about that.
Sure, that we'll go right into the question. Kate writes in, I've been reading a lot about winter sowing in containers. I'm so confused as to the why and the how. Do any of you do winter sowing? And then she goes on to say she spread some milkweed and crossed her fingers and hopes for the best. So let's back up to the question. Confused as to the why. So why winter sow? Let's break that down.
Okay. For winter sowing, you can do it anywhere between zone 7 and zone 4, maybe even other places as well, but that's going to hit most of us in the Midwest. And what it does is it allows the seed to go through a chilling period. And many of our perennials and many of our tree seeds and such require that cold period. And like the milkweed that she had, she planted it in the fall like recommended. Well, what you're doing is just planting it in a controlled environment that then you can transplant from. And the seed is not grown under lights. It's not grown indoors. It's just made up, and these milk jugs or mini greenhouses that I brought are one way of doing it. What I want to recommend is that there's a Facebook group of winter sowers that they post all season long, and I can't hardly keep up with it, but I have decided to try a couple of things, so I thought I would tell you how I do it.
Okay.
You can use a variety of containers, but one that's easy to recycle is milk jugs.
We've all got them.
That's right. And so what you're going to do is you can see here that it's been cut in half, but it's still attached on the handle side. So we have it cut. And then the other thing that we want to do is put in drainage holes. And so you can see that I put in 4 drainage holes. Now, there's all kinds of ways that you can do this. You can drill them with a drill bit. You can just punch them through with a nail. I found someone recommended that you just heat a screwdriver on a gas stove burner. So that's what I did. I melted some holes in there. And then also I put in 2 ventilation holes in the top. So this is my container, and you can still seed winter sow now. You can winter sow annuals and vegetables. So if you wanted to start tomatoes and you didn't have room or couldn't do it inside, what this does is approximate the time that they would naturally germinate, but they're protected. They're not out in the open in your garden. They're protected, and you can grow a very handsome tomato plant in here, or you can start your annual flowers like zinnias or something like that.
So does this also then lend itself to the hardening off process?
Oh, most definitely. Yes, that's what we're going to see. So because they're going to actually grow in this more than they did in my little ways that I'm starting them under lights indoors, I fill the bottom with several inches of regular potting soil. And then on the top, I use a moist seed starting mix. And then it's very important that you label these. And some people do hundreds of jugs, and then they just dump them out and rinse them out then in the summer and string them up on
Maybe like a clothesline or something?
Yeah, and hang them in their garage. They, you know, they can kind of stack. But it's important to label everything. That's what I neglected to do on some of my seeds. I'm not going to make that mistake. So here I'm trying actually some winterberry holly seeds. This would be from a shrub. It's the red berries that I had in a Christmas arrangement, and I thought, you know, ooh, maybe I could grow my own little plants. I'm going to try it.
There you go.
And then I had some hypericum seeds. Now, I'm not really sure how that goes. But anyway, it's all moist. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tape them shut like this. And you can leave the lid off. And you just set these up against the side of your house or the side of a barn, your garage, something like that. And then as the conditions are right, of course, light penetrates because it's somewhat closed up and taped, the soil stays moist. And then you'll have to monitor them. But I'm already seeing on Facebook people that are down in zone 7A, you know, pretty far south. Their pots are all growing. It's amazing. But you can do this specifically for plants like those milkweed seeds that need a cold period, or some of your perennial seeds that you would collect, or you can do it with annuals. And it's a fun way to get started, and you just really let nature take over.
Like that. Now, I've seen some people too cut the bottom out and use these directly in the ground, like if they know where they're going to put them.
Like a hot cap. Yeah, you could certainly do that as well. And some people do connect them with just a, you know, a twist tie rather than taping them down. And people use all different kinds of containers. You can get really lots of great ideas, and there's still time. You can do this up until the end of April. So
save your
whatever.
milk jugs.
Yeah.
Give them a rinse.
And that's it. I keep asking for milk jugs now. You know, I have milk jugs that store water to water my house plants that are indoors. I have milk jugs to hang on my tree to collect sap. I have milk jugs for winter sowing, and it's just my husband and I anymore, and we really don't buy anything in a gallon. So these are precious.
From friends and family.
From friends and family.
So if you remember, we wwent to Ella's last spring, late winter, last spring, early spring, and watched her tap her trees. How's that going so far?
Well, I started last week when we had that warm weather, and I collected about 4 gallons. But then when it went below 0, especially during the day and the night, I didn't collect any sap. But today, with warmer temperatures, I'm collecting sap again, and probably will go for maybe three weeks.
Awesome.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of excited.
Very. Okay. So now we've got some other goodies. Oh, we've got all kinds of stuff. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, you remember that you like cannas.
I love cannas.
And my friend Karen, she grows excellent cannas, and I'm here delivering cannas to Tinisha.
Because every year I say, Karen, my cannas won't bloom. Come to find out, they were crammed in the pot. I broke them up last year, but Karen she got tired of watching me suffer and finally sent me an email and said, I'm gifting you cannas that will bloom because I'm tired of watching you struggle. So she sent them
So and Karen's going to share some with me as well. I do love cannas, and she does an excellent job. And what we have here is, again, she's labeled them. This is Tropicana. She harvests them in the fall, cuts the foliage off. She washes them off, hoses them off, and then she stores them in moist wood shavings. So you can see here an excellent canna that isn't dried out that should be ready to go this spring for you. And you can go ahead and one way that I like to do this is to take a large tray. You could use a cardboard box. Anyway, I line it with newspaper. I set some soil on the bottom. I set in my cannas, and I spread some soil then over the top. I just let them sprout that way. I do that with cannas and dahlias and some caladiums because it's easier than individual pots.
Gotcha.
And then once they're growing, I just take them out and go ahead and plant them.
So when would you start sprouting these guys?
Well, remember that these are tender bulbs. That's why we have to store them indoors, and really they don't want to go out until May. And so usually about the end of April is when I'm taking them and putting them outside in that large grouping to sprout.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we have consistently warm day temperatures. The night temperatures aren't freezing really. And if there was to be a freeze, I could easily take the container in. So Karen has sent you a whole box of 3 or 4 varieties of cannas that
I love this job.
I know.
I have the best friends. I have the best friends. And then again, me begging, not me begging again. I was telling Ella that I wanted a really big, beautiful grass. And so she dug me up some and tell us a little bit about this.
This is giant miscanthus. This is a type of, well, I think they call it Japanese forest. No, that's a different one. It's not native, but it's a miscanthus, and this one gets 8 to 10 feet tall. So it's very large. It makes these large canes, very much like bamboo, that you can cut and use for staking or whatever. Usually we cut ours back in the fall because it's a very large grass. It blooms really late, but it is a bear to try to dig up.
Especially when the ground's cold, I imagine.
Right. Well, I had to wait for it to de-thaw a little. But what I brought here is my trusty root slayer. This is a shovel. This is a small spade here that has these,
like a
serrated edge, a nice sharp point, and a good spot to put your foot on to cut into very dense root systems. And so you've got an example there. You can take it out of the bag. I took some pieces off and washed them off so you can see.
So this is what I wanted. This is what I'm going to do with this clump. I'm going to break all this down.
Well, you can. I would probably recommend that you do rinse the soil off, but with this, you can see it's very aggressive. It's very stiff and sturdy, and to try to cut through this, if you don't have a really sharp spade, it's very difficult to divide this up into other pieces. But this will make a really nice clump. So Miscanthus giganteus, I believe is its botanical name. And again, it dies back to the ground, and then you cut it off. In the spring, it grows back up again, and by fall, you will have 10-foot tall.
I can't wait.
And it's very hardy. Most of the bamboos that can get 10 feet tall are not very hardy up in central Illinois. I did go down to Birmingham Botanical Gardens over the winter, and we walked through some marvelous bamboo clumps that they had passed through, and it was really interesting. But I have this in several locations, and it makes a great screen. It's very durable and tough, and nothing really bothers it.
I like that. I'm so excited. So with this, would you plant this one entirely, or would you cut this and do it in separate sections?
I would plant the whole section.
That whole section?
Because remember, it's got some buds on it. We can see the buds for this next year, but you know, it's not going to be very robust.
Okay.
it's better to probably keep it together as a clump.
And for this entire clump, this is the first time I've transplanted a grass like this. When I'm cleaning this off and when I'm rinsing it, look for pieces that are about this big, or should I look for something a little bit bigger? What are your thoughts?
This could actually go into like a gallon pot if you were going to share it at a plant sale, or if a nursery was going to offer it. So this is a way to get started, but really and truly it's much easier just to plant the whole clump, and then, you know, in the succeeding years maybe
Divide a little bit more.
Take a portion off. And that's what I did. I didn't dig up a whole clump, I just dug off a section, and it was tough. I jumped on that. And then, of course, it's wet, heavy, so good luck to you.
Thank you so much. That is a labor of love. I really appreciate all the goodies that you brought in. I wanted to talk about going back to the maple syrup. It's 40 gallons of sap to 1
gallon of syrup. Which is how many bottles?
I had to let that sink in one more time, because that's another labor of love. Speaking of.
Sure. It is so much fun to try all these different things. Two things that I have done this year that I was kind of excited about is I made ginger beer with a fermentation of honey, water, a yeast starter, and powdered ginger. And it was a starter that you fed every day for 2 weeks, and then you took this concentrated starter mix and mixed it with water, and that's how I did get this jug here. I bought a gallon of spring water, and then you add some lemon juice and some more honey. What happened though is that it very heavily carbonated, and it said to just lightly cap the bottles. So after a couple of days, I just snapped those caps down. The first day we opened it, it was more than champagne. The whole bottle came out. I mean, all the contents of the bottle came out.
I hope you did it outside.
No, we did it in the kitchen because we didn't know. It was a mess. But it was so much fun, so I tried it again. I modified the recipe a little. I followed the directions a little bit better. That was kind of fun. Now I'm making some pineapple vinegar from the rind that you cut off the pineapple. So that's in day 2. I have 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks. So in about a month, I'm going to have some pineapple vinegar. We'll see.
Okay, you'll have to bring it.
Yeah, I just picked up this magazine, and they talked about fermented different products, and of course, kombucha or whatever. Kombucha.
We dabbled in that for a while at our house. Yeah,
and of course people are talking about apple cider vinegar and all these health benefits. And I saw this thing for pineapple, and it was like, ooh, that would be kind of fun to try. So do look up some of these things. Share some of the things that you're doing with your friends, and it's just wonderful gardening time.
It
and
is.
Of course, I am going to work part-time 2 days a week, and that's starting soon. And
when it's nursery season.
Oh, I know. And then all the new plants. And
I've been keeping tabs on a lot of my favorite nurseries. They're starting to post like some of their decor, some of their little seedlings and baskets going up, and I'm like, it's almost time. It's almost time.
That's right. That's right. Gardening is relaxing. It's exciting. It's everything.
It is.
So if you have the time, you can really explore it, so many different dimensions.
And you know what I also like? You and I garden similarly in that I'm going to see a piece of trash and say, can I use that before I throw it away? Just like with the jugs and the lunch meat containers. You and I are similar in that way, because if I can repurpose it, then that's less money that I have to spend. If I can find quality seeds at the dollar store or wherever I'm at, that's less I have to spend. So I can appreciate that. It's nice to have the gadgets and all the bells and whistles, but I think sometimes that's intimidating to people. So I love that when you come with milk jugs and lunch meat containers, I feel right at home.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
it's
good.
very inviting. So
It's so much fun, and my family, I haven't quite gotten the next generation involved, but
there's still time.
someday I
There's
think
still
they're
time.
going to come to Mom and say, "Remember how you did that? I want to know how to do that now."
Learn. Yes, yes. Well, Ella, it's always a pleasure. I'm very excited to take my goodies home. Thank you so much, Karen, for sending me some cannas. And thanks for coming in. And if you have any other questions, please email us at yourgarden@gmail.com. You can also search for us on Facebook. Just look for Mid-American Gardener and send us your question that way. That way we can get those questions answered by our panelists and help you be more successful out in the garden this year. That's our show for today. I'm your host, Tinisha Spain. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night.